So I am really excited to introduce Richard Reilly, CorelDRAW Master and freelance graphic designer. Richard lives in Jacksonville in the US. He started out as a screen printer where he learned the basics of the business and production. He started teaching himself about the pre-press end of the business and to do art and color separations using CorelDRAW. If you would like to learn more about Richard's journey, you can either go to CorelDRAW Master page at www.corel.com/CorelDRAWMasters, or visit his website www.fluiddsn1word.com. Richard, welcome to today's webinar. Would you like to get started?
Hi, Kevin. Thank you very much. Welcome, everybody. In today's webinar, we're going to go over a couple different pretty neat effects that you can do in Corel. And I'm going to show you the different steps to achieve those effects. The main image you see right here has a couple different effects actually in it. And we're going to go through and show you how to do all those and try to sneak in a couple extra things as well. All right, first we're going to start off with a gel effect and kind of a liquid look, which is what you see down here. Looks similar to a paint drip or a splatter of blood and so forth. So let's go ahead. I'm going to switch to another page here and going to draw our initial shape. And nothing too fancy here. Just going to show you how we can get a couple different looks really quick here. So smooth these nodes out for a little better look. And let's see here. I'm working in a resolution that makes it easier for you guys to see, but it makes it a little bit harder for me to work. So please bear with me there a little bit. And I'm going to delete that and actually trace this so we can match this as close as possible. I'm going to switch to my pen tool here for a little easier tracing, and then we'll just clean it up really quick. All right. See where some of these nodes are. I'm just using the freehand tool here just to draw the basic shape and switch to the shaping tool so I can modify these nodes and tweak the shape to fit my needs a little bit better. All right. Oop, deleted that one on accident. All right, that's pretty close. We'll work with that. We'll add a couple little drops over here just to get that general effect. I'm going to select all these and combine them together or weld them together. And I'm going to go ahead and copy it and paste it on another page. And just going to use the RGB palette, default palette. We'll fill this with green and remove the outlines. All right, let's go ahead and center that real quick. I'm going to copy this to the clipboard, the original basic shape. That way we can use that a little bit later down the line. And what we're going to do is duplicate this shape. I did that by hitting the plus key on the number pad, and that'll duplicate it in the exact same spot. So we have one right above the other, just so you can see. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to nudge this up a little bit, and we're going to fill this with a little darker color. By pressing down on the color palette, the color in the color palette, it'll open up this little window and give you a little more color options. And let's see here. I'm going to move the darker one to the back, shift page down, and I'm going to bring this in front just a little bit. And we're going to switch to the, let's see where it is. I want to use the blend tool. I customize Corel pretty highly, so I pull out all these interactive tools. I have them all right here for that way I don't have to keep opening up each little dialog window, and makes for quicker working in Draw. So I'm going to select this top object and select the blend tool. Just blend these two together. And as you can see, we're pretty much starting to get the basic shape. Do a little tweaking depending on how much of a bevel look you want. And move that over just a little bit. Let me get this in the whole window here. And let's see here. I'm going to control click. That way I can select one of the control curves, and you can actually tab and select the bottom curve. And with this first curve, we're going to add a gradient, interactive fill tool. And let's see here. Add a little bit more depth. See if I'm using the right one. Might have to switch this around. Short it. All right. And tweak with the colors that you're using. You might have to go back and forth, trying out different colors to get that look you're after. That's a little bit better. Now remember, we have the original object on the clipboard there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to paste that. And since I did a little bit of moving around, that's not going to work. So I'm going to control click so I can get that first control curve. I'm going to copy and paste it. That way you can see what I'm doing here. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a contour to this to add a little bit of a highlight. Going to do an inside contour. And let's see here. Here you just want to play. You might have to do this 2 or 3 times until you get that right look. I broke the contour apart, Control K. And now what I'm going to do is duplicate this object again, and we're going to nudge it over a little bit. Change the color so you can see what we're doing here. And we're just going to get a little bit of a little highlight. Now these over here didn't turn out so good, so I'm going to break these apart, Control K, and move these a little bit closer. Weld those two back together. We'll do the same to this one over here. And now that they're all welded together, I need to see if I can move this. That way I get to my shaping tool here. And we're going to go to trim. We're going to trim that top object to the bottom object and just delete what's there. We'll fill that with white, and we can get rid of that one. So there we have a little bit of a highlight. All right, there's many ways we can go about tweaking this even further. What I'd like to do here is we can either leave this solid white, depending on what the final outcome is going to be. If you're going to do any kind of vinyl cutting, you're not going to want to do the next step, so you'd want to keep it just solid like it is. This next step, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a drop shadow. I'm just going to come up here to the presets and use the small glow, and we're going to change this color to white. I'm going to keep the mode here at normal, just because if I were to manually separate this, if I were to change the mode to like add, when we're going in and changing it to black and whites and so forth for films, you start having issues using some of these other effects. So normal seems to work pretty good. Now, you can't really see it, but what I'm going to do is lower this to 10, and I'm going to break that apart, Control K, and delete this original object. And now what's left is the lens, the transparent object, and I think I moved it a little, there we go. It's right back in the correct spot. I'm just going to duplicate it a couple of times to beat that up. And you can see it's more of a raster look. It's a little too much in these areas, so I'm just going to go back and get it. Where am I? Let's see here. Maybe that. You can always make this a little bit smaller, 5. Still a little too much over there, so you might want to go in and tweak it, do each little drop. That way you get a more consistent look. So I'm going to get rid of that, since our original image, I used a solid. And what I did in the original is just use a transparency tool. And that gives it a little bit more of a shine, helps make it a little more realistic. We can group all these together. Use the perspective tool, excuse me, and we can tweak this a little bit more, try to make it look a little more flatter looking, give it a little more depth. And I'm going to undo that, excuse me, and I'm going to pull this out, this bottom object out just a little bit more, get that depth a little bit more. All right. Okay, now this is a pretty simple little gel effect using the contour and blend tools, and I'm going to show you another way we can do this. Get back to this original object here, and we're just going to apply some contours. Simple contour to the center, and start playing with your steps and the size, and the lower the offset, the more steps there is. And so if you just start playing around with it, with those different numbers, you can get some pretty cool effects as well. And let's go to a lighter color here. There's quite a bit of objects in there. There's actually 959 contour steps. So it might, depending on your object and how many nodes you have, it could take quite a bit to process. You have a little slider here that you can move around to get the look you're after. I don't like this look personally. I like the first step, but depending on your object, sometimes the contour will work just fine, and I'll show you how that works on some text a little bit later on in the tutorial. Okay, let's see here. We'll go ahead and delete that, get back to our original. And this is bugging me right here because they're actually touching. I don't like them touching. It just doesn't look right to me. So try to move these over just a little bit. There we go. All right. Let's tweak that. Okay, we'll go back to the front, and let's see. We'll do the CorelDRAW Special Effects. Title. CorelDRAW. And essentially what I did here is go ahead and break these apart. Let's change fonts here. Do narrow, and I'm going to bold the draw. Just make this a little bit bigger. We'll convert these two to curves and weld them together just for easier working with. And I'm going to add a perspective. And essentially just playing around, trying different looks until you get something that you're happy with. Fill this with white. And we're going to apply another interactive transparency. I'm going to switch this and go the other way. Pretty simple steps, but you can get some pretty neat looks with. All right, and next is FX. So what I did with FX, had caps locks on, FX. I'm going to go ahead and switch to, let's see, Arial Rounded. Convert that to curves, and you see all these nodes. If you switch to the shaping tool, up here on the property bar, you can select all nodes and just hit the reduce nodes, and we just got rid of quite a few nodes that aren't there, and that'll help with file size and so forth. Less nodes, better. If you're cutting with vinyl, less nodes is better. Let's see here. I'm going to grab, holding down the Alt key and dragging, and everything that's in this little window will be selected. And I'm going to drag this over here to the document palette. That way I can grab these colors easily, and we're working with the same colors. And let's go with the darker. And there's a couple different ways we can go about getting that gel effect, and it's a lot more noticeable here on this FX, so I'm going to show you a couple different ways how I came up with that. Back to the contour, to the center. Let me copy this real quick. That way all I have to do is paste. So let's see here. As you can see, boom, right there. Gives you a nice beveled look. I'm going to paste this back down, and we're going to add a slight contour to the outside. It's putting quite a bit because it remembers. So I'm going to move that step down to 1 and change the color to black. So I don't want a real big one, and we'll shoot that to the back. All right, we need to break this apart just so we can get that contour object similar to an outline. I rarely use outlines in my designs. It's just a lot easier, so I always use contours instead. And we're going to add a little drop shadow to this. Go back to that small glow. I always start with the small and then work from there. Do black, change the feathering to 5, and let's lower the opacity here. And again, it's just playing with the different settings until you get a look that you like. Now, since we had the FX on the clipboard, I'm going to paste. And I'm going to fill this with black and use the interactive transparency tool and give it a little more depth, some shadow looks here. And paste that again, fill in with white, add a little bit of highlight up here at the top. We'll group these all together. We'll move this over here. Take a quick look here. All right, there we go. And then what we did was had another shadow going, so I'm going to can't paste because I moved, so let me back up real quick. There we go. That'll work. Then I just flip this by holding the control key. I'm able to drag down and it flips it. It does it the same way, any way you flip it, as long as you hold the control key and then let go. Fill this with black, add another transparency. We don't want a whole lot, so just going to do a little bit there. And here you can change the mode and multiply. It's going to darken it up pretty good there. I don't like the way it's sitting outside, so I'm going to go ahead and select all these and just squeeze it down a little bit. There, that looks a lot better. That one's coming out. Move these are all grouped together. I'm going to move this CorelDRAW to the front. That way it pops a little bit more. All right. One other thing we have here in the front is there is a little bit of drop shadow that you see right there. This image here is pixelated quite a bit due to a long story, which is why we're going through and recreating this. And so I'm going to click the control curve right here. I'm going to tab to get to the bottom one and copy and paste. And this is where we're going to add our drop shadow. And another small glow. And you don't have to use the presets. I use them quite a bit. You can just switch to the drop shadow tool, click your object, and go ahead and pull it any direction you want. And shoot that to the back. That way we can see how we're working. And go ahead and darken this up a little bit. Change the feather, just very small number. And there we go. And that's a pretty cool effect. Let's see here. I'm going to go ahead and delete some of these that we created and just show you by changing the colors. Tabbing to get to the other control object at the bottom. And let's see here. I want this a lot darker. Just want to show you. We can get now it looks like blood. Or chocolate. You can use this effect if you're recreating an ice cream cone and you want that chocolate dripping down the ice cream cone. This will give you that kind of beveled look, nice, wet, and glossy. So we're going to delete that, and I'm going to go back to FX. Arial. Let's go back to, where's the little round. That's the one I want. All right. Fill this with green, any color you want. And I'm going to do the same thing that we did with the that blood effect, just to show you what it looks like with working with fonts in the blend. These blends can really make your vector, text, and objects look like you created it in raster by giving them bevels and so forth. Put a little outline around here just so you can see how the two objects are working together. And I'm going to show you the next way to create that gel look. Get rid of the blend here. And I like, depending on the color and what you're working with, you might want to start with a lighter color or a darker color. We're going to start with a darker color, And we're going to go back to the drop shadow tool and small globe preset. We'll change this to yellow up here on the property bar, and the direction we're going to go to inside. Since we're going to the inside and the object's filled with a color, you can't see it. It is there though. The next step, we're going to break that apart. And I don't know if you can see that yellow or not, but there's the object. And by moving that to the front, you can see we're getting that gel bevel look again. And just by hitting the plus key on your number pad, you can beef that up. Since we broke it apart, we don't have a whole bunch of options to modify, so you can beef it up just by duplicating them. And these lenses will retain Pantone colors, which is very good for color separating and achieving a lot of really neat looks. And they will color separate right out of the Corel print dialog separations engine. Excuse me. All right, let's see here. And then just beefing it up, you can add contours, you know, add more bevels, and you can get all kinds of pretty neat looks with that. Let's see here. What I want to do now is I want to show you some other tricks that help with designing and work really, really well. I'm going to import just some clip art, and let's see here. We're going to do the flame. It's just a pretty generic flame clip art, and we'll go ahead and fill this with red. What we're going to do is we're going to make a custom brush out of this. Move this out of the way. Where are we at? Where is it? There we go. Artistic media. And make sure we have brush. With brush selected up here, essentially all you have with your object selected, you have this little floppy disk icon, and that'll save the media stroke. And essentially, you just click that button, and let's see, name your brush stroke, and click Save. And then over here in this window, it should be the very first one that pops up. And now all you have to do is just draw, and there's your flames. I want to show you another pretty neat effect. What we're going to do is just duplicate this and mirror it. I want to weld these two together. And we're going to make this a custom media. And flames 2. We'll get that one saved. And as you can see, you have to make sure you switch over here to custom, and they'll pop up in that little folder. And we'll draw a circle here, an ellipse. P. We'll delete that so it's not in our way anymore. Switch to the artistic media tool. And technically all you should have to do is, all right, here we go. Just change the size. And you play with the stroke width to get the look you're after. But here we just kind of made a ring of fire. I think Johnny Cash would be impressed. Just showing you different ways. You have to play with the settings and so forth until you get happy with the final outcome. But this tool set here with the artistic media is extremely powerful, and you just have to think outside the box of how you can use it, and you can come up with some really, really cool effects. All right, let's see here. That would be, what is it now? All right, we'll draw a circle. And back to using the contour tool to the inside. I need to get rid of those outlines. And play with some different effects and looks here. Sometimes I like to use the contour because you can add mini steps, and it acts like a just a regular gradient blend, but you don't get the banding that you do with the gradients sometimes. So it's a little bit different than working with gradients. It obviously adds a lot more objects to your design, but again, you get a little bit smoother blend, and just makes for a better look, I feel. Okay, let's see. All right. Now, the next little effect I want to show you is the neon. How to use outlines to create a neon look. I'm going to hit the wrong. Need to get this out of my way real quick. I'm going to open up the object manager and just lock this rectangle and create a new layer. Neon always jumps out at you and looks better on a black background or a darker background. I'm going to hide it real quick, and I'm going to see if I can write neon. There are some centerline fonts out there that will work with this effect really well, but if you're good at drawing freehand, then, which I am not, but you get the idea. Just want to throw neon there. Oop. We'll weld these together. Shrink it down just a little bit. Go ahead and change the outline. You want a pretty big outline. I am using a macro to where all I have to do is press some buttons. Try to clean this shape up just a little bit. I don't want to spend too much time on that way you can see the actual effects. Make this a little bit thicker, and let's see, let's do a neon green. I'm going to open up the outline pen dialog, which is F12, and we're going to change the corners and line caps to round, and let's scale to object. And we want to go a little bit darker here. I'm going to duplicate again, plus key, and let's go ahead and change it to the lighter color, and we'll reduce considerably. There's a basic, just solid two-color neon, but we're going to tweak this a lot further. For vinyl cutting, this right here would work fairly well, but want to really make it pop and really look neon. We're going to switch to the blend tool, and we want to blend these two objects together. And as you can see, I mean, that looks 100 times better and a lot more realistic. All right, and fairly quick. Okay. Selecting the original control, not the original, the second one we can grab, and I'm going to tab to get the original one. I'm going to copy and paste, Control C and Control V. And since these are outlines, what we're going to do now with this object is convert it to a curve, Control Shift Q. Learning the hotkeys are definitely going to speed up your work. And we have a little bit of funkiness going on right here that we can tweak and might need to clean up. I'm not going to go into that. Pretty sure everybody here knows how to clean everything up using the shape tool. And I reduce the nodes. It's something I do by habit. I'm always reducing the amount of nodes. And what we're going to do is add some transparencies and give this a little bit more shine. Let's see here. Actually, I think I'm going to do a radial and just make it really. Okay, let's bring up this dialog and change the direction real quick. All right, I don't like that. It doesn't look good. It's way too much. So we're just going to switch this back to a linear. Oop, wrong one. Let's go up here, linear. And again, you're just playing until you get a look that you're happy with. And that's not too bad. And since we have that original object in our clipboard, we can just paste again, convert the curves, and add a drop shadow. That way we can get that glow effect. And we'll pick that green. And we'll change the feather and send that to the back. We had some issues here where they filled in, so you'd want to clean that up. Had that black showing through the background, and that gives us a pretty cool neon effect. Works well. The outlines really do it, but just to show you that you can as well get that similar effect. I'm going to delete that. Using contours. You'd have to convert the object to a curve, and then you can apply the contours. And I'm going to show you why I don't like using the contours that much. It's because of the way at the ends right here. But playing with the contours is going to give you a little bit of leeway, and since it should go all the way out. And contours obviously go into the center, so we're not going to get that effect. Whereas over here, you've got a nice good blend all the way to the edges. But the contour will work. It just depends on the shape of the image is whether or not it's going to look good or not. So pretty cool little effect right there. Let's delete that. And this year, neon is back. Everybody's wearing neon, so that's probably a little effect you'll be able to use quite a bit. That's going to work really well. I'm going to import this real quick. Show you another effect. This is just a V shape that I created using the freehand tool. And I'm going to do this a little bit large, that way you can see it. We're going to change the end caps to round. And we're going to blend this together. But I do want to make it a little bit smaller. Duplicate it, move it to the side, and do a little blend. I'm not going to change the steps yet. Let's see. Stitching. Just going to pick a different font here. This effect's it's an old effect, but it's still used quite frequently, especially in the screen printing industry. And I'm going to change this color just so we can see the stitching a little bit better. Okay, these are definitely too big, so I'm going to have to make these a little bit smaller. And now this is the blend object where we blended the two together. Up on the property bar, you get a lot of pretty cool options, and we're going to change the path. We're going to click on the stitching. Excuse me. And grab that again. And we're going to go blend along full path, and then add a considerable amount more steps until we get that look. And let's do rotate for 500. But you can see exactly what we're doing. We're making that look where it looks like it was hand sewn. I copied and pasted the original object, and I'm just going to add a contour. And watch me, I probably, hopefully I didn't lock it up. I think I might have still had the stitching around, and when I tried to apply the contour, yep, that's exactly what happened. Let me undo that. All right. Reduce these steps. There we go. I'm going to shoot this to the back. And what you could do is also apply that to the same around that yellow object. You'd want to contour. We'd want this to be considerably bigger, and we could add that around is what the yellow, which is going to give us that generic stitching look, like it's been stitched. And I'm going to break that apart, the blend, ungroup it, weld it together. When you're using these blends, you actually you'll need to go in and tweak. You can turn them around. Let's see here. I'm gonna put these back and just show you how tweaking the controls, if I can. Oop, I need one more. Get rid of that so I can see what's going on here. I hit show start, there it is, and that'll help me find that original object. But by tweaking these, turning them around, you can change the way it fits on there, and really should have been a little bit smaller to get that look a little bit better. So it's just playing with the different settings until you're happy. And I want to find the end here and show end, and then reduce that one down a little bit as well. And as you can see, that's a little bit better looking right there. And that's a quick stitch effect. Works well on objects, text, just about anything you can think of. Go ahead and delete that. And let's show you the brushes as well. And again, I've got a little piece of feather clip art. And just using found images, anything in your arsenal. Right now this is just pretty much a generic feather. What we're going to do is we want to open up the artistic media, and again, we're making a custom brush, so as long as you have it selected up here on the property bar, everything should pop up. Let's see, name this feather. The reason I'm making this feather a custom brush is so you can curve it. And again, you have to play with the settings. Come on. All right, this one's not working the way I wanted it, so I'm going to change this direction, see if this works a little bit better. Where you, yes, brush 2. Change these settings again. Yeah, this one's working a little bit better. Depending on the direction of the original object, you might need to change like I just did. And just so you can see, you could tweak this with the envelope tool. Got some things in my way over here for the webinar, and add new. But you're kind of limited to how much you can tweak them. With the brush, you can get these feathers in any object that you decide to use, and you have a little more flexibility. And by changing the size and shape and everything up here on the property bar, you can get that look you're after. What I did here with the feather works really, really well with some generic fire shapes. Flames, that's just a real quick one. Let's see here. Just want to show you how you can move. You can use the brush is just a great tool, especially if you custom use it. That's not closed. But you want to get that free-flowing movement, and you can't really do that with some, just a vector object without a lot of tweaking. Converting it to a brush really quick gives you a lot more flexibility. And this is just a real quick generic flame. But as you can see, and by changing the size and the shape, you can get that look that you're after. There's just so many things that you can do, and the best thing that I can say is to just play around. When you create, a brush, like we did with the feather, it did straight up and down didn't seem to work as great as opposed to the one we did sideways. It retained the shape a lot better. All right, something's happening here. I'm going really slow. I'm not quite sure. Trying to delete these. I don't know what just happened. We'll switch to a new document, and that'll solve that problem. Oh, come on. I think that that brush stroke I did kind of whacked it out a little bit due to all the nodes in that, and that's why I always reduce nodes for this reason right here. And come on. There we go. Uh, Kevin, Cecile, I think I locked up draw. I sure did.
That's okay, Richard. We were coming to an end, and we have a few questions that we had to get to, and this has
Okay.
been great. I've got neon lights in my head now, and I agree they are coming back. But yeah, what I'll do is let me get to some of the questions, and hopefully you can get back in. And then I'll go through some of these, and if you can help answer them, that'd be much appreciated.
I'll do my best.
Okay. One of the questions regarding the stitching that you were showing, how you change the position of all the objects in the stitching.
Let me pull this up real quick. To change the objects, the direction, I'm just going to make another quick generic one here and blend these together real quick just so you can see. When you have the blend selected, you have all these tools up here on the property bar. Path properties, starting and ending points, and so forth. When we added it to the object, to the path, what you're going to do is you're going to go under more blend options, blend along full path, and rotate all objects. Depending on the shape of the path, it is going to determine how much you're able to tweak things. Once you select that starting point, you can do all kinds of tweaking, moving them around, the starting or the end point. And
no, I think that's great. I think you've covered that one. Another question is, Roger saying, I've noticed you're not going to your outline dialog to change outline widths. What steps are you using to do this?
I am actually using a macro that can be found at Macro Monster. I think that's .com. Jeff Harrison. It is a it is a macro to where all I have to do is I have some hotkeys assigned, and I just hit the as you can see, I just hit the whatever key I have assigned to make it larger or make it smaller. It saves a lot of time by not having to go in and out. I have some outlines over here as well that I pulled in from customization. These are different size outlines that I use for my custom registration marks. Some clients like them really big and some like them really small, so I have them right here so I can change fairly quickly as well.
Thank you. What advantages would there be to using the blend tool over using the fountain fill?
The only advantage that, like I had mentioned earlier, is you can add more steps. When you're using a linear blend, especially in vector art, and depending on your printer, you start to see a lot of banding, whereas, and you're limited with 256 steps, whereas blending, you can do a lot. I think it's pretty much however many steps you want. So it helps reduce that banding that you see. And I'm not sure if I'll be able to, you'll be able to see it. You usually see the banding during output. But you just get a lot better. Yeah, we're not going to be able to see it here on screen. But I do a lot of film output, and the blends just, to me, they're a little bit smoother.
Okay, I appreciate that. I think you've talked to that one. I believe this question was with regards back to when you were doing the FX caption, and the question was, will this work for producing images for screen printing?
Oh yes, everything that I am showing y'all, I showed y'all today, and as well as the previous webinars, you can do with screen printing. With the FX, the using the transparencies. Transparencies hold. They will hold Pantone colors, so everything's going to work flawlessly for screen printing. And since they do hold transparency, they will color separate through CorelDRAW.
Perfect. Where can I find the perspective tool, and how can I make it standalone tool in the bar?
Okay, that's going to be under customizations, and essentially you go up to tools, customizations, and right over here you have command bars. And these are all your typical command bars they're going to pop up sooner or later. The text bar will pop up if when you use text and so forth. If you go to commands, they're categorized. I usually do show all, and this is something I would suggest everybody do when you have time. Go to show all, and every command inside CorelDRAW is in this list. There are a lot of commands that you don't know exist, but they're there, and you just got to take your time. And let's see here, you can hit the little search button right here, and hopefully I spelled that correct. Hit next, and there it is. You just drag it out, hit OK, and place it wherever you want, and we'll put it right there. And just to show you real quick, there it is, perspective.
Perfect.
And it's always going to be there.
Thank you. We'll do 2 more questions because we are running out of time, and then want to make sure we finish off and highlight what else is coming up for our webinar. So at the very start, there was a question, how did you reduce the height of the blended object?
Okay. It's trying to remember. I believe all I did was squish it. Let's say that was the original object. It's not filled. I believe all I did was do this, if that's what you mean. If not, I'm going to blend these two together just so we can see. Just by dragging it closer or farther apart. And the farther apart you do it, you're going to want to add more steps so it's a lot smoother.
Excellent. So the final question we'll take is it possible to blend 2 Pantone colors while retaining a 2-color spot output?
Indeed. Let's see here. Filled that with yellow PMS. I'm going to just do this with a red PMS color. And that right there will separate the same as if it were a linear blend. Let me do this real quick. Fill that with red. This object right here will separate exactly like this rectangle that I filled. It will retain those colors, and if you were to go into print separations, and let me get rid of those real quick so you can see. And it's going to color separate exactly like you would expect it to. And that's the great thing about using the blends and the transparencies.
Excellent. Well, Richard, this has been great. This has been really informative. I want to thank you for sharing some of your your time and your techniques today. For those of you who want to learn more about Richard's journey using CorelDRAW, you can check out the CorelDRAW Masters page at www.corel.com/CorelDRAW or visit Richard's website at www.fluiddsn.com. And Richard, thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you.
I hope everyone enjoyed this webinar, and we appreciate your interest in CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X6. I'd like to let you know that if you'd like more information on CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X6 or to download the free trial version, just visit coreldraw.com/CorelDRAW, or sorry, corel.com/CorelDRAW. For your information, next month, our webinar will happen on Thursday, August 22nd from 12 to 1 p.m. Stefan Lindblad will join. He's an illustrator, graphic designer, artist, and CorelDRAW Master. Will show you how he creates an eye-catching poster with CorelDRAW and Corel Photo Paint. To register, go to corel.com/CorelDRAW-webinars. And we look forward and hope to see you there. I wish everyone a great day, and I apologize for going a little over, but Richard, you did a great job, and we appreciate it. We're getting some good feedback from everyone. So everyone have a great day. Thanks.
Thank you.